Be good to go. We're in the essentials room. We're on YouTube. Yeah, we got a lot of places going on out here. So let's, yeah, it looks like we should be good. And then I'll be recording it on my end so that we have good hard copy. All right. So this is going to be one of those pieces that we put together, kind of live out there. And we're going to be talking about my favorite long-term stocks to hold. Now, I think that this is going to be a good addendum to the last kind of bigger video I had about my 2024 outlook. And at that point, I said, look, we're bullish. Things are looking good. I'm happy about everything we're doing this. Everything's looking good. And said, we do need to see a little bit of a pullback in the market. It looks like we've pretty much gotten that. The S&P and the NASDAQ basically did pull back and then flagged a little bit. And now, hey, new highs, everyone's talking about these new highs. And then we were looking for the IWM to start to catch up. So it pulled back. It looks like it's starting to find some support. But overall, I think that might be kicking into gear and we're looking good there as well. So yeah, if you have not seen my 2024 outlook, go be sure to check that out. And then we can also talk to here because this is going to be like, well, if we're going to have a good year, then what else are we looking for? So I first wanted to start with, what does this mean when we talk about higher time frame? So for me, higher time frame or longer term means higher time frame, and mostly that means monthly and weekly. So let me kind of get this cleaned up. So monthly, weekly, this is kind of where I always start to get kind of the idea of where we are. Give me the full big picture and then we can drill down. After that, then I'm willing to go to the daily time frame and then we kind of look at the hourly time frame to maybe kind of find that exact edge. But ever since the S&P crossed over the the monthly 10 SMA, I've been bullish on this market. And the bottom of the market, as it turns out, was October. I think it was October 13th, 2022. That was the bottom. Now, that was not easy. Only the big caps, like the Magnificent Seven, as they're calling them, really were kind of leading the market at that time. But that was the thing. So, yeah, Laura, you looking at this cup with handle? There you go. So, and also the idea of a cup with a declining handle is stronger than a regular handle or an upward handle, but that's it. And you could also see the DPO started going positive. I mean, we had a lot of things that were starting to set this off pretty well. And you can see we had a nice pullback into the moving average there, and we had a nice pullback right there. And here we are, S&P new highs. Okay. And then one other thing as kind of the Dow. The Dow was actually one that created new highs first. Not too many people have been really talking about this. The S&P is the one getting all the attention right now, but the Dow actually made new highs before the S&P. So that's another thing to pay attention and watch out for. So I've been generally bullish for quite some time. We just needed to see everything else start to catch on board with that. So going back to this, what does longer term mean? It means primarily I'm going to be looking at monthly, weekly, and daily. And then I might look at the hourly to kind of give me a little bit of a heads up or kind of a cutting edge to get in or out or something like that, but monthly, weekly, daily. So then what does the start of a new trend look like? Well, I just touched on that a little bit, showing you guys, well, when did the S&P go bullish? It's when it got over the monthly 10 and started to engage with that moving average. Well, let me just show you the RSI. This is not relative strength. This is actually a ticker. Let me show you RSI. Now, this is, I can't actually confirm that this thing is going to be a great stock or anything, or, buy it here because this is going to, just go straight up. I have no idea. But what I do want to show you is how do these things even begin and where might they come from? And what I want to, and you'll see this as some of the other tickers that I show you as we go through it. But what you want to notice, especially, and this is kind of a good learning opportunity since we have come out of a bear market, the market itself, the S&P only corrected, I think 28 or 30 something percent, not too bad. Doesn't look like anything. It wasn't like a 50% drawdown. It wasn't 2008, wasn't 2000, that kind of stuff. But underneath the surface, a lot of names actually had a legit bear market. And that's something that we really need to pay attention. Underneath the surface, a lot of names did this. Really, really big moves to the downside. I mean, you look at this thing, it went down 86%. And that has been something very consistent. A lot of names went down 60, 70, 80, 90%. Pretty crazy. So bear market was definitely beneath the surface. And so if we are going to be starting a bull market, or if more names are going to be, joining this trade, then what does that look like? Well, it looks like first they stop going down. And then they look like they start to engage with their higher time frame moving averages and actually start to, get in gear. Because if it's still under the moving averages, sure, there can be a move. But eventually you're going to also have to come back and test it. So if you just understand context, you can realize when, yes, you're catching an uptrend, but it could also be likely to pull back because it's just not quite in an uptrend yet. Actually, I just got off the mic with my dad talking about this same situation because he's in a stock right about here. And I said, that's cool. There can be a good move, but you got to get out on the way up because you can see how long it then takes for it to really consolidate and actually start to move these or tilt these moving averages to the upside. So, for example, something like RSI might just be at the beginning. I mean, look at that, just starting to see the monthly 10 angle up, and we were just starting to test the weekly 50 as support. So possible. And that's where I think these things kind of begin. The other thing, as I said, I kind of led into the other one already, respecting the moving averages. We want to see names that are starting to actually engage with their moving averages. Let me see if I can just pull one off the top of my head. Yeah, see, like Airbnb, let's just kind of do this. It looks okay, but it's still not really going anywhere. It's still just kind of going sideways. Could it be great eventually? Yeah, maybe. But when does it start? Well, it starts when it starts to actually follow these moving averages and respect them. So I'll see if I can kind of come across some other examples. Um, let's see, MGNI is this one. Yeah, like this. This is what you don't want. There's a good example. So when I say they respect their moving averages, it means they actually start working with their moving averages. And you can see that maybe for a period of time it did right there. You can see it held, and then it also got rejected there, and now we're back below. And so you can see it just, I mean, huge move. Maybe it was earnings or something like that, but this is a name you want to be careful about because it looked like it was going to be good for a while and then just wasn't. And if you come across names that are still just kind of doing this and not really in an uptrend and not holding these moving averages, then you don't want to be in this name. They're not going to be working out. So let me kind of go on and start showing you more of the kind of names that you want to be looking at. So these were some sectors that I also thought were pretty good. So uranium, for example, CCJ. We know that this is the big winner, right? Now it's a little bit, anytime they get up to these 30 ATRs, yeah, it's a little bit frothy, but hey, it's hard to deny. Look at what's going on here. These things are looking pretty good. And I know URA was another one looking pretty good. This one doesn't look overbought either. And I think there's just a lot of talk about uranium. We are trying to transition to green energy. I think uranium with nuclear and a lot of the new technology that we have coming out could actually give a resurgence to this. We don't need the really big old school factories or reactors that we have. We're coming up with a lot of smaller stuff, a lot of smaller local reactors that are very safe. And I think this is going to be kind of one of those stopgap measures until we really get renewables up and running, and could be the thing that help transition us away from fossil fuels. So uranium, just kind of take a look at those sectors. These are looking pretty good. And I actually called the bottom right there. You can see the line that I had, and they've been working out pretty well since then. So there are a few uranium stocks. There are a few uranium ETFs. Go take a look at them. Some are better than others, but generally speaking, uranium looks like a good long-term play if you guys are interested there. All right, Bitcoin. Now, this could be a bit of a hot topic because of all the, let's see, of all of the, hubbub that came out with the, let's see, let me get this, there you go, with the spot ETFs, and it was definitely the, and yeah, Laura, they did talk about uranium on the All In podcast, but I've been watching uranium well before they started talking about it, so. But yeah, Bitcoin. This was clearly a buy the rumor kind of move. The insiders knew that this thing was coming, that ETFs were coming, and that they were going to have to acquire it, so they bought it. And then what happened? Sell the news. The moment that all these ETFs came out, price started going down. Buy the rumor, sell the news. I mean, just can't deny that. But for as much as it's buy the rumor, sell the news, I think that is going to be a temporary thing. Now, how long is temporary? I don't know. But you could see that Bitcoin did run into some of its upper resistance, and it ran right into the middle of the previous price area. So I think that it just needs to consolidate a little bit, do the whole buy the rumor, sell the news type thing. Let's get that worked off. But I do think this is going to go. I think that it is going to start creating more of a mainstream adoption And we just need to get past that news thing. And then if you look at things like Mara, so we start looking at the Bitcoin miners, I also think that these things are going to continue to move. There is a massive amount of volume that has been coming into this. And as I said, look at these names, they stop going down and they're starting to engage with their moving average. So again, the principles that we kind of led with of how do these things start. And you can even see back in 2020, look how well it followed those moving averages really, really well until they didn't, right? So that was the end of the trend. And just huge volume. Look, the volume keeps on increasing. So I think that this is hard to deny what's going on here. But of course, it could be a wild ride. I mean, I think Mara went up roughly, 185%, but it also came down 45%. So, you got to still get these things right. And if you want to ride the wave, great. But I'm starting to look at these and say, you know what, that pullback might be done. I can't confirm it yet, but I'm looking at this and saying this looks like a pretty reasonable spot where price has pulled back, and it could be interesting. Other names like Riot, not quite doing as great of a job, but I still generally like what's going on here. Again, wild ride, up and all the way back, and we'll have to see if this continues to work out. There's another one, Hive. Let me kind of clean these up a little bit. I think that they are trying to work, but there's just a ton of volume, and there was big moves that came into this. So I think they're trying to get themselves figured out. Of course, you're going to have to play the best names, and I think that they're starting to do stuff. Even Cypher, this is another one, huge big move coming on back. If they can start finding some support in here, then maybe they're going to go up. So I just want to put that out there. I think these are some names, sectors to really take a look at. You might have to be agile, but I think that something's working out with them. All right, shipping. So oddly enough, and maybe this is pretty straightforward, if our economy is doing better and stuff like that, I don't know, get something, just basically the economy is doing better, soft landing, all that kind of stuff. But that stuff seems to be getting better. SAIA is looking pretty good. I mean, wow, right? I mean, that's kind of hard to deny what we're seeing on with that one. And then JBHT, there's another one. Kind of took some choppiness. This is why you got to kind of find the right moment, but look what we just got. Moxie price trigger. And when I was also talking about, hey, needing to respect the moving averages, no, it could not hold the moving average, could not hold the moving average, it's below the moving average. But there could be a change. If you look, what just happened right there? Doesn't that look different? To me, that looks like price just started to hold the moving average where it couldn't hold it here and couldn't hold it there. And we have the Moxie price trigger, and you can see price maybe starting to hold the moving average right there. So this is trucking, and then SAIA has said this is another one. And yeah, I mean, geez, look at that. Looking pretty good. So maybe look at the transportation index, look at shipping names, trucking names. I'm starting to see that these things are looking pretty good. And you know what? Yeah, hard to deny. Look at this thing, new highs, looking pretty good. So that's another area. And then tech, of course. I mean, do we even need to? Clearly, NASDAQ, awesome. I also like to look at the FNGS or FNGU. This is the FANG stock ETF. I mean, wow, come on. Looking amazing. You can also look at SMH. This is the semiconductors. We know what's going on with NVIDIA, of course. AMD, I think, is going to be a good name. It has been a good name to continue. And just look, over the monthly 10, it's been doing pretty well. And we'll just have to see how much this keeps going. We are in a few other technology type names, but if the idea that interest rates have peaked and maybe they stay level for a while, I think staying level could be fine as long as interest rates don't go up. Then I think the market can digest the interest rate situation and knowing that they're probably going to come down at some point. So whether they come down a week from today or 4 months from today, I think is less of an issue. I think it's just knowing that they're not going to go up and eventually they're going to come down, I think is helping technology, and I think also helping the small caps. So yeah, tech, obviously, and probably due to interest rates. Now, the other thing that I find interesting, and maybe this has to do with interest rates too, but biotech. Now, let me show you a couple things. We can look at XBI, and this has gone nowhere for a very long time, right? No denying this has been a whole bunch of not much. But I think that there's something, again, we're looking at longer term stuff. That's what this session is about. Well, what do we got? Look at that double bottom. Look at that Moxie divergence. And this is on a weekly time frame. This is taken 2 years. I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I mean, look, pretty crazy. And you'll notice here, see how it never really respected any of its moving averages? It just kind of kept chopping through, chopping through, chopping through. Well, this might be different. I think it's still a little too early to say exactly at this moment that it's going to be working, but boy, that looks different. This looks pretty good. It looks different than here and here. And now we're over these moving averages. Again, we have a fresh Moxie price trigger, and we are back over the monthly 10. And honestly, the way I look at it, I feel like, you know, XBI wanted to go down. It had its opportunity, and it didn't. And you can look at here, the DPO is starting to go positive. Again, the Moxie indicator is looking good. So I have a feeling that Biotech is looking good. And some of the things that November, December, Biotech was some of the most money went into Biotech. Like they were leaders every single day. Another thing you can do, you can look at LabU and the insanity. I don't even know what to make of this, honestly. Maybe somebody out there can email me and tell me what's going on, but look at the amount of volume that has come to this thing. Pretty darn wild. And I don't know if this has anything to do with just LabU specifically or whatever's going on there, but it too had the opportunity to go lower. It's been pretty dead for quite some time, but it really didn't go down. You can see here, there was a double bottom right there. And yes, it did a little bit of undercut, but we're right back up. And in fact, the thing that's now different is notice how price could not get past these moving averages. And now notice how price is past the moving average. Well, Laura, this is an ETF, so there are a lot of stocks involved in this one. So it wouldn't be a buyout. I'm just wondering why there's so much more volume coming into this particular ETF than, gosh, any time before. So I'm kind of looking at that and going, interesting. And notice where there has been a surge of volume right into this move. So a huge surge, yeah, right? Expecting the next pandemic. Yeah, yeah. But I'm seeing a huge surge of volume. And there are things like ALT, and then we have to look at that. ALT, big move. TWST, big move. Even CRISP, we're looking at this one. CRISP is looking pretty good. I've been trying to get into this thing, but it's been just flagging, but I think something is coming up. So yeah, look at CRISP. You know, it pretty much had its opportunity to go down. And as I said, with LabU, there's a double bottom. It had a bit of an undercut, but now look at that. That looks like a great resurgence, and look at the amount of volume that came into it. So Biotech, I think something's going on with Biotech. All right. Other than that, let me show you a couple of these names. So we'll go through these, and I'll show you some examples that I'm looking at. Let's see, ARDX, ARDX, fat fingers. How about that? So even though, you know, huge move here, huge move there, and, you know, it's extended and all that stuff, if you give it time, what it do? It actually just flagged sideways into support. And again, respecting the moving averages. Notice, respecting the moving averages. And then it continued to shoot on up. That's good long-term stuff. And the fact that it really just went sideways. That's also a sign of strength. That is, if you ever want to know what a flag looks like, that is a flag. So good stuff there. Now, I can't say you don't want to go buy it here. This may not be the most ideal, but what I wanted to do was show you guys what to look for longer term. So ARDX was one of them. ARM, you know, I talked about AMD, NVIDIA, all that kind of stuff. I think ARM is one of the newer ones. I like that we are now bullish on the weekly time frame, and we even pulled back a little bit here on the weekly chart. So it's still pretty new, but I do like it overall, and I think it's going to ride the whole tech semiconductor wave and all of that. Base, you know, we'll have to see. This one is a smaller volume stock, but it had some interesting characteristics. Notice that it's been in an uptrend. It's been holding these moving averages pretty well. It's been respecting the moving averages pretty well. And, you know, look at this, new highs, you know, hard to deny that. And recently it had a nice pullback, and it's making new highs after that pullback. So I like this one as well, base. And I also find that these surges of volume are also interesting. So it's got some attention. Crisp, we talked about that one. I like that. That looks really, really good right in there. So yeah, I like Crisp. And then CX, it's kind of another one. You know, what I wanted to show you with this one was kind of similar to the ARDX. You know, remember, hey, little overbought. Okay, don't want to go buy there. You know, it's right there at a double top. So what do? Well, you wait. And oh, look what it did. It pulled back, and it pulled back exactly to these moving averages. In fact, it looks just like the S&P when it pulled back. And what did it do? Well, it shot up again and another double top. So, got to be a little careful about that. But you know what? This pullback could be constructive. So as it found major support, pulled back from a double top, and now it could be finding some support here that could be of interest. So it's got earnings. You always have to be careful about earnings, but look at that. Nice possible support on the daily time frame. Let's see. I'm not picking all of these based on exactly what they are. I like looking at mostly the charts. So if you're saying it's versus VMC, I don't know if they're the same sector. If you're gonna, I guess, say yeah, materials. Yeah, looking pretty good. Look at VMC right there, pulled back to the monthly 10, also pulled back to the weekly 50, and you're right, double top right there, pulled back. So on the surface, yeah, looking pretty good. And you know what? This maybe goes with the whole, if the economy is doing well, shipping and building, if we're going to be doing stuff, then okay, maybe we're getting back on. But yeah, there's your double top flagging into the daily 50. And if it can continue to hold this stuff long term, yeah, not looking too bad. It just needs to work. How about this? I need to always, CYA, make sure I cover both sides. If this doesn't work, then you're going to notice price start to fail again, and then you cut it. Okay. This works as long as basically the 8 stays over the 21 and price continues to flag and find support. If it doesn't do that, then it didn't work for whatever reason. All right, then snow. This is another one. Again, tech. Amazon's a beast. What's not to like about this? It also looks a lot like Crisp. I mean, look at that. These look like the beginning of nice, good moves. Notice how it's different than that. The last time it tried to pop up, it failed. This looks a lot better. Okay, so I'm starting to see these things have been basing for a very long time. This is where they start to come out of, and now we're starting to reach new highs across the board on a lot of names. Okay, so Snow, another one kind of in the tech space, helping that. ESI, do you guys remember ITT Tech? It's a school. Now, the funny thing is, again, maybe the economy is doing well, and so maybe school does something like that. Maybe interest rates, if interest rates come down, then students are going to take loans out, and that's going to help. Also, I just heard how many billions of dollars of school debt were just forgiven. So this might be kind of a thing. I just thought that clearly there's something going on with education. You can see here, it's making a new high, and it didn't go down. That's something to pay attention to. We talk about the bull and bear market. That looks like a nice consolidation, and that looks like it's kind of coming up and moving out. And there you look at a fresh Moxie price trigger right there. We had a level. There's your positive divergence, and there's a fresh Moxie price trigger on a weekly time frame. So yeah, big stuff there. And then looking at GCT, this one looks real interesting. So yeah, look at that. Doesn't that look like a nice wave that's kind of going through there? And you can see here, price holding the monthly 10. It held the weekly 50. Got a little overbought, but this could just be consolidating. If it can kind of find some support and continue to move up, that also looks really nice. So yeah, basically the whole thing about this is it stopped going down, and now it looks like it's going up. And this could be just the beginning of its run. Good, interesting things. And you can see, yeah, doesn't that look strong? Looks real strong. And you just look at the amount of volume coming into it. So yeah, good stuff. Tom, how does MSTR? Basically, that's going to be another Bitcoin situation. Like the miners, they have all pulled back hard. And really, we just need to kind of figure out where it's going to stop pulling back. It could be coming into some support right there on the monthly time frame and somewhere on the weekly. Generally speaking, as I said earlier, I am bullish on the crypto space, but it's not without its heart palpitation rides and all that stuff. But I do think that it is hard to ignore what just happened, and you just need to kind of wait for those pullbacks to finish and I think resume its trend. I think things got a little crazy and a little overbought. And if you look at this, if you look at that trend line, things got out of trend. And so you have to think about the market and balance. And what did it do? Out of balance. And now it's coming back within balance. So I'm still bullish on these things. We just need to kind of be patient and wait for them to turn. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. I hope you enjoyed the session here. Basically, my favorite long-term stocks to hold. I gave you guys some education, some principles by which to trade and to live by. And then if you guys are interested, my thing is the Moxie indicator. come on over to simplertrading.com. You can check me out there with the Moxie indicator. We have a live trading room, and you can find me over also at profitpilot.com. All right, guys. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward to any constructive comments, and we'll see you guys in the trading room. Take care.